What is up, everyone, and welcome to the biggest little soccer podcast on the internet. It is Stateside Footy, and I got to be honest, guys, I am fired up because today we are going to talk about the Yanks abroad. The U.S. men's national team players that apply their trade overseas, and we'll get into a little bit of the domestic guys as well, too. But I am certainly fired up. But before we get into all of that, before we do, go ahead and hit the like. Go ahead and smash the like button. Go ahead and hit subscribe. And let's get this rig rolling the way that a soccer podcast is supposed to roll. So, all right. When we're talking about U.S. men's national team players that are applying their craft overseas, really what we're talking about is our starting 11. But more than that, we're also talking about some of the squad depth. And today we're going to highlight those players that I believe are going to be involved in the upcoming September upcoming September friendlies, but also more than likely that will be on the 26-man World Cup roster for 2026. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with our goalkeepers, because goalkeeper seems to be a hot button topic right now. With what happened to the Copa America this summer and the way that Matt Turner played, which was 100% unacceptable. Now there's going to be questions about whether or not the United States needs a new goalkeeper, and I'm 100% on that bandwagon that it's time to reset the position. And it's interesting because the United States has always had good goalkeepers, whether it was Tony Meola, whether it was Casey Keller, Brad Guzan, the United States, or Tim Howard. The United States always seemed to have that rock solid veteran behind, between the sticks. And right now, it seems that the U.S. men's national team just doesn't necessarily have that clear-cut number one. But we're going to get into it, and let's go ahead and start in the Premier League because there's really only one goalkeeper that's currently playing, and that is Matt Turner for Nottingham Forest. And the biggest problem that I have with Matt Turner is now this is the second straight week that he didn't feature, and he currently sits number 3 on the Forest depth chart behind starter Matt Sells, and they just brought in a backup goalkeeper, Carlos Miguel from Corinthians out of Brazil. And so right now, not only is Matt Turner not featuring for Nottingham Forest, but he's not even featuring in cup matches, and with only 1 week left before the transfer window closes. And I should also add a caveat to that too, because the MLS transfer window was closed shut. So in order for that option, he would have to come on a free. So that's not going to happen. So Matt Turner, if he wants to be a part of the U.S. men's national team, not just in the immediate, but also leading into 2026, he's got to get himself out of Nottingham Forest. Now, whether that's a loan or whether that's a permanent, it's got to happen now, because what ends up happening is if nothing comes of it, and he's stuck until the January window, unfortunately, he's not going to be involved. And I know a lot of people just assume because he was the incumbent. This is something that has to end with the United States men's national team, is calling them players who are not playing, which, you have to be playing, which leads me into the next one, and that's Gaga Slonina. And I personally love this kid. I believe he's 21, 22 years old. He's still very young. He's applying his trade in League One for Barnsley, and he's gotten off to a very, very, very hot start for Barnsley. This last weekend, he obviously he played again. He's their starting, and it was a 2-2 draw. And but outside of the fact that 2 goals were conceded, I thought Gaga Slonina played incredibly well. So he's going, unless something drastically happens, he's going to continue to be their number one. And I've said this multiple times, and that is, if Gaga Slonina has himself an upper echelon type of season to where that he is one of the 3 best keepers in League One, and he helps Barnsley get to the championship, he's going to end up making that move next offseason. And who knows where that may, well, it might be with Barnsley in the championship. Maybe he gets the move to a better, a better situation in the championship, or maybe even a lower level Premier League team. Most likely, Ligue 1, maybe even the Serie A. But the reality is Gaga Slonina, to me, looks like to be the number one in keeper for the United States men's national team. And, I get it, man. He's playing in League One. And, for me, at least, I actually think League One is about on the same level as Major League Soccer. A lot of good goal scorers, a lot of finicky defenses. But that being said, I also think it's important that players go through, a relegation or promotion battle, because it requires you to take your game to levels that you may have not, have known that you can achieve to. I think it's very good for an upbringing of a player to go through those type of those promotional battles. The next guy on the list is Ethan Horvath, and at least he was able to redeem himself this week as compared to last week with Cardiff. A week ago he allowed one of the ugliest goals. And the biggest problem with Ethan Horvath, and especially for what separates Gaga Slonina from Ethan Horvath, is Gaga can play out of the back. He's young enough, and he's played in the system where he can do both. He can play traditionally, or he can he's a very good ball handling goalie on with his feet. Ethan Horvath, on the other hand, is not. And I know that he was he was Berhalter's number 2, but unless something drastically changes when it comes to Ethan Horvath, you're looking at a situation where not only should he not be involved in camps, but but if he is, it's on a it's on a limited basis, like i.e. Gold Cup type of situation for Ethan Horvath. Outside of that, he should be literally second or even third team goalie. But he redeemed himself a little bit this week. But for me, I'm going to need to see a long body of work to help me overcome what I saw last week out of Ethan Horvath. The next one on the list is going to be Patrick Schulte, Columbus Crew. He's been great, man. I got it, for a league that concedes a lot of goals. Major League Soccer is literally just a goal scoring machine of a league, and of course, it's designed to be that way. With the DP rules, with the TAM level rules, you don't see a lot of teams using those roster spots on high level defenders. And for a league that actually does concede, Patrick Schulte's have been actually pretty goddamn good in between the sticks for Columbus. And in this situation right here, moving forward to this upcoming camp. Now, maybe it's a little different in 2026, but for this upcoming camp, I want to see guys in camp that are actually playing well. And so for me, that's going to be Gaga Slonina and Patrick Schulte. The two featured in the Olympics this summer, with Schulte actually starting, although that was more of a, for me, at least I thought it was, they were trying to get, to showcase Patrick Schulte to see if he can get a move overseas. Didn't necessarily work. Gaga Slonina, to me, is the better goalkeeper of the two. And moving forward, I'll just put it out there. I think Gaga Slonina is our starter in 2026. Just a reminder to go ahead and hit the like buttons. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to talk U.S. men's national team, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section. It'll be great, man. It'll be no big whoop. Do what you want to do. Also, I should also add, when it comes to the goalkeeper, one of the biggest things I would like to see moving forward with Mauricio Pochettino is whether or not he can get Diego Cochin to commit to the United States. This young man with the Barcelona youth team. This is also another guy who fits the profile of what Mauricio Pochettino likes in goalkeepers. So that's obviously going to be a wait and see. Dual nationals are going to be a very, very big key of of the success of Mauricio Pochettino. Turning our attention to the right backs, and I on this list I got 3. Obviously, the depth chart goes pretty deep for right back. But the three that stand out, obviously, is Serginho Dest. He's injured right now, and he is still rehabbing. I would be curious to see if he is ready by January, because he's saying January, and if that's the case, that's going to put him on a time frame for the 2025 Gold Cup. If he, if they want to bring him in just to kind of put him through his paces, it all depends on if he's playing. And all indications by the time that he's rehabbed that he should be ready to go for PSV. The next one is Joe Scally, who was Dest's backup. He was also the starter in this summer's Copa America, and he was fine. Wasn't Serginho Dest, but that's okay. He was. I thought he was very good, and I thought his performances were very workmanlike. Didn't necessarily do anything flashy, but he's steady at the right back position. Currently, is playing his trade in the Bundesliga. As a matter of fact, they played they played this weekend, I believe, against Bayern, and he played the entire 90. And again, had a lot of good touches. I actually liked his passing success rate this weekend, and I thought that was pretty good. Again, didn't do anything that necessarily stands out, but he's Joe Scally is the type of steady backup that you want. In case, obviously in case of injury, break glass, there's your right back. And the third guy I got on the list is Nathan Harriel, who plays for Philadelphia. And I believe Harriel was not in the lineup this weekend for Philadelphia. And Harriel played in the Olympics this summer. I didn't think he was great. I also didn't think he was terrible. But at a position that doesn't have a lot of upper echelon depth, a guy like Harriel may come in handy. But one of the things that Harriel has to do is he has to get overseas, and he's got to be in a situation, potentially the Dutch Eredivisie, or maybe even the Belgian Pro League as a first step. But that being said, the talent is there. The framework of what you want for Nathan Harriel is definitely there. But, again, it's hard for me to put somebody higher up on the depth chart when you are a right back in Major League Soccer. It's no disrespect to Major League Soccer, but again, it is a goal scoring league, and very good defenders are at a premium, but mostly the good defenders are generally at center back position. Speaking of center back, we're going to start off our center back list with Chris Richards, and this weekend he did play for Crystal Palace, but it was slightly better than week one. And early on, he was playing the right side of a three back system for Crystal Palace, and being on the right side, there were times early that he was kind of caught out position, and he kind of got shook by oncoming wingers. And luckily in the early part, I think it was like the 27th minute, luckily it didn't lead to a goal, but on West Ham's first goal, he was caught out of position, and was not in a position where he could put a block. And unfortunately, West Ham scored. Played a good majority of the game, and again, he's got to I don't know if he's not in form. I don't know what the problem is with Chris Richards right now, but he's definitely good enough to be at that level, and he showed that. But maybe it's just an issue of form right now, or maybe he's playing in a back system that doesn't necessarily suit him. Either way, my problem with this is that he better figure this out and figure it out pretty quick, because Crystal Palace is one of those teams in the Premier League that I at least had anywhere between 9 and 11 in the table. 9 on the high end. They ended up losing a lot of good players this last offseason. And Elise being one of them. So they're going to need their defense to step up big and keep the goals conceded at a minimum. And if Chris Richards can't regain whatever form that he was in last year, there's a very good chance that he's going to end up moving to the bench. The other guy that I hit on this list is Mark McKenzie. Made the move to Toulouse, Ligue 1. And he definitely played this weekend, and he definitely played pretty well. What I like about McKenzie is I like the fact that he's a good ball control center back for what Mauricio Pochettino likes with his center backs. He plays out of the back. And as you're pressing and playing that high line, you're going to need somebody who's cool, calm, and is not going to necessarily get rattled by the opposing press. And I thought McKenzie played pretty well this weekend. Now, again, it's League and it's not the Premier League. But one of the things that you like to see is that continuing that continuous evolution. And this is a position where we supposedly have depth, but now whether or not that's going to be, depth that's going to evolve, where it's going to manifest at the World Cup, that is yet to be seen. The other guy was Austin Trusty, Sheffield United in the championship, and he made his first start. I saw him about a week ago playing in a cup match against Wrexham. He looked very good in that match. And then, this last weekend gets his first start. He's playing next to a veteran center back. And I think that helped too, because he was playing against Josh Sargent's Norwich. And he looked good, man. I was impressed with Austin Trusty. That dude did not get rattled, and Norwich tried, man. Norwich was pressing for a very large part of that game. I thought he was cool under pressure. He did not get rattled. Was able to make clean, crisp passes. I think his pass success rate was pretty high as well too. This is a guy that I'm watching over the next year, because this is also a team that was in the Premier League last year. So he's also playing around guys who have played at the top level, and of course, because they were newly relegated, they also had those balloon payments from the Premier League, and it's designed to get back. So there's a very good chance that if he plays well and Sheffield gets promoted, we're going to have two center backs in the Premier League. The fourth name on this list is Tim Ream. He made his move to Charlotte FC. And I hate to break it to you guys. For the short term, Tim Ream will be involved with the U.S. men's national team. I thought of all center backs that we saw at Copa America this summer, I thought Tim Ream was the best of them all. I also think he's the best. I think he's also the best ball handling center back in our pool. And I also think that because Mauricio Pochettino does play out of the back, he's going to want somebody that he can trust anchoring that back line. And I know what you're saying, dude. He's 37, 38 years old, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he hangs on for the 2026 World Cup. And if he's playing well, I mean, to me, that's the criteria, right? Not only do you have to be playing, but you have to be playing well. And he made his start this week for Charlotte, and he looked good, man. He gave you a classic Tim Ream performance right out of that right center back position, and he looked good, man. He did. And I would probably think for this upcoming camp for these friendlies, I believe in September 7th, I think Tim Ream is going to be a part of that camp. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of players are going to be coming in. Is it going to be first teamers? I don't think so. Just because there's going to be certain situations where I don't think teams want to let certain players go. But, depending on the position, there's a lot of cover. And especially at center back for the U.S. men's national team, they do have a few guys in Major League Soccer that can cover. The next guy on my list is Walker Zimmerman. Was one of the overage players at this summer's Olympics, and he was one of their best defenders, if not their best defenders for that tournament. Applies his trade in Major League Soccer for Nashville. He played this weekend as well too. And again, when we're talking about Major League Soccer, generally the best defenders are applying their trade at center back. And Walker is, he is the anchor and the leader of that Nashville back line. And he did exactly what you expect him to do. Now, in the past, I think we've seen Walker get called into Gold Cup situations and certain friendlies. And again, I think this is going to be a situation where if for instance, let's just say Crystal Palace would like to see Richard stay because there's a lot of things he might need to clean up, especially for a game like Canada against a Canadian team. Having Tim Ream and Walker Zimmerman start as center, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I think specifically for this camp, because I think Mikey Vargas is leading this camp, the U21 coach, and I know that Mauricio Pochettino is going to have some involvement with this camp, but I also think that how much involvement is yet to be determined, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw I wouldn't say a lot of Major League Soccer MLSers, but I think when it comes to this position, I would be surprised if those two were left off. The other one that I kind of want to see is Jalen Neal, LA Galaxy. I like Jalen Neal because, again, young, but he also knows how to play out of the back. He's very good with the ball at his feet. And from what I've seen of his performances with the LA Galaxy, I actually think this kid could actually evolve and develop into something special. Now, again, how long does he stay in Major League Soccer? And is there a chance that he can make the jump overseas? Because I think he actually was overseas. If my memory serves me correct, let me just pull that up real quick. I could be wrong. I think that was the case. I could be wrong. Nope, he's LA Galaxy. Looks like he's LA Galaxy. Yeah, I think he is just a straight up LA Galaxy product. Anyway, it would be nice to see him get overseas and challenging himself. And again, it could be a situation like Serie B, the second division in Italy. Maybe even League 1 for a team that's not PSG. A good landing spot for him that's going to be able to test his skills and also help him develop without necessarily crushing him. The other guy on the list is Cameron Carter-Vickers, and I know there are some people who like Cameron Carter-Vickers. I am not one of those guys. I thought that his performance at Copa America was not at all productive. I don't know, man. It looked to me that he was kind of slow, kind of overweight a little bit. And of course, he plies his trade in the Scottish Premier Division. And again, I'll give you a good example. This week he was playing against St. Mirren, and you look at his numbers and you look at his work rate. It looks great. Like, he looks like a world beater playing for Celtic. And a matter of fact, I can't remember the name, but I think it might have been an Italian team that was inquiring about him. Celtic wouldn't let him go. That would have been a great move for him. But understand that the Scottish Premier Division is not at all the best division in world football. As a matter of fact, I would go out of my way, because there's really only two teams that have any shot at winning it every single year, Rangers and Celtic. And outside of that, there's really not a lot of competition. There's not a lot of good offenses in the Scottish Premier League. As a matter of fact, I think MLS might just be a little bit better than the Scottish Premier Division, which is letting you know that as far as defenses go, they're the best. And it's not hard to be a dominant defense when you don't have those type of players that are constantly going to test your back line. So I know that he looks good, and I know the initial reaction is to say, like, good Lord, man, he's ripping it up with Celtic. Until he leaves Celtic and goes to a league that is going to test him and make him work harder and raise his game to be that defender that I think a lot of people think that he could be, you can't involve him in the U.S. men's national team. I'm sorry. I don't want to see Cameron Carter-Vickers anywhere near the U.S. men's national team unless there's injuries and you're forced to be in it. Forced to use him. I would rather use Walker Zimmerman than Cameron Carter-Vickers. Simple as that. The next guy on the list is John Brooks, the former U.S. men's national team that center back that was frozen out of the Greg Berhalter era, and he's still applying his trade in the Bundesliga. I believe he's playing with Hoffenheim, and of course he's with Pellegrino Matarazzo. Did not feature this week, and I believe he didn't feature the week before either. And I think he's coming back from some sort of injury. But the reality is, this could be a good time to welcome John Brooks back into the fold, because I believe he's still relatively he is 31 years old. Yeah. He is still in that age where he is still productive. And I saw John Brooks last year play, and it looked like he was perfectly capable. Now the question is he better right now than some of the other center backs where you would, I don't know, like is he at that point where you would take him right now over like a Tim Ream or a Walker Zimmerman? I don't know, because I guess it all depends. Like maybe even a McKenzie. I don't know. And that's something that we're not going to know unless you bring him into camp and you see what he actually brings to the table. But he's a guy who you can pair him next to somebody, and you can count on him to be able to get that job done. The dude has an excellent work rate. I actually didn't like the fact that Greg Berhalter froze him out and then lied about it, considering that center back has been a problem for a minute. The idea not to use one of your best center backs, I think it's time to reintegrate him back in the team, bring him into camp, and just let's see what he has. Because this is the perfect time. I think when it comes to friendlies, like this isn't Gold Cup, this isn't Nations League, this isn't Copa or the World Cup, right? Where by then you have your starting 11 hammered, you know exactly who those backups are going to be. For friendlies, that's when you tinker. That's when you find out. That's when you put together center back pairings to find out if there's any cohesion. And bringing John Brooks into the fold is not something that I would have a problem doing with. The last name on the list is Christopher Lund, playing for Palermo, and he did not feature this weekend. So we're going to keep our eye on Palermo. But I love the fact that we have center backs in Italy. Because that's an interesting league, man. Because not only do you have very good, prolific goal scorers and very creative head coaches that that have their very unique attacks, but I think it's the perfect league to develop center backs because it requires quick feet, and I don't know. I kind of like Christopher Lund, but I got him down on this list, and not to say that I don't think that he can't be an asset. He absolutely can. I would even go so far as to bring him into a camp. And again, it's for the same reason with John Brooks. You bring him in and see what he's got. As we go to left back, I got 3 on this list, and the first one obviously is Anthony Robinson. He was absolutely phenomenal this weekend for Fulham. And again, just continuously evolving at the left back position. I have always been that guy that believes that he is a top 5 left back in the Premier League. Like I'm not afraid to say that just because of what Fulham like to do with their fullbacks. He is a very attack like minded fullback. I believe he was involved in the goal scoring this week. Let me double check that. I believe he was. I believe so. Yes, he was. And that just lets you know. I like him, man. And the thing that I like about Anthony is that, he is so good he is so good, whether you want to invert him on the inside or you want to overlap and just let him eat up space. In a Mauricio Pochettino offense, that's what he likes. He likes to invert fullbacks, and then sometimes he likes to flip. He likes to mix it up and then go overlap. He's going to be able to do that and do that well. Anthony Robinson had a phenomenal weekend this last go around for Fulham, and he's going to be a mainstay there, and a mainstay with the U.S. men's national team unless he gets hurt. He's going to be your starting left back. Game in, game out. The other guy is John Tolkien, New York Red Bulls. And Tolkien played this summer for the U23s at the Olympics. And I thought Tolkien's play, especially his ability to switch, his ability to backtrack from the attack to get back in position on defense to make a play. I liked his ability to step up 1v1. Now, the problem with him, again, Major League Soccer. But in this context where we don't necessarily have quality depth per se, I wouldn't have a problem bringing him in as backup to Anthony Robinson. There's a good chance that he probably wouldn't see the field anyways for the friendlies unless they decide to not call in Rob, but it is what it is. I would like to see Tolkien go overseas as well too. And again, this is no disrespect to Major League Soccer. It's just that for a national team, you need your players overseas playing against the best, constantly evolving, and that's not something that you're going to be able to do in Major League Soccer. Not yet, not now at least. But this also the reverse conversation could be had as well too. That if you let him go, then that is never going to change in Major League Soccer. But then again, man, that's what Major League Soccer wants. Anyway, the third name on my list is Caleb Wiley. He applies his trade for Strasbourg, and he played this weekend, and he played well. I like Caleb. I like the fact that he was not afraid to be a part of the loan army, and now he's playing in Liga, and he's playing. I think he's playing rather well. I liked his passing success rate. He's also a guy who, I'm curious to see what he looks like 2 years down the road. Now, is that going to evolve to potentially like a move to the championship? One step up? Could it even be a situation where his development takes him to a point where all of a sudden now you're going to Serie A teams? Maybe. I think that's the thing is I think his learning curve is going to allow him to do that. All right, let's go to the D mids. Tyler Adams still has yet to feature for Bournemouth. Then again, he's also injured. And I think the timetable could be mid-October, early November before he starts featuring. But either way, the fact that he played at the Copa America knowing he had the injury and because of it, shame on you, Greg Berhalter. And then, of course, Tyler Adams is going to try to play regardless. But that being said, you have to have people in place to protect the player from himself. That was Greg Berhalter. And, of course, that, unfortunately, now he's out, which opens the door for guys like Johnny Cardozo, who plays for Real Betis. And I like Johnny, man. This is, here's the thing, man. This is a golden opportunity for somebody to come in and take this job. But that's what you like, because there's no guarantee. This can't be a situation because you were a starter. Now, all of a sudden, that means when you return, that's not how it works. Because if a guy like Johnny Cardozo shows up, or Leonard Maloney, or even a guy like Tanner Tessman, who's also making that move to Lyon, this is a very good thing. Iron sharpens iron. And it would only mean that Tyler Adams has to do himself a favor. And when he gets back, he not only has to keep himself healthy, but he's got to play at an incredibly high level for him to reclaim that job. It's not just his and It's not just his, and then whoever takes it over. Because if Cardozo comes in, plays well, you're not gonna bench Tyler Adams if Johnny's playing well. And that's what I like. And especially for this upcoming camp, 100% you're starting Johnny Cardozo at the 6. And I don't think there's any question above it. I would also bring in Leonard Maloney, who's playing for Heidenheim. And again, he was playing. I think he played this weekend and played pretty goddamn excellent as well too. You look at some of the things. You look at some of his his work rate numbers, and you look at some of his success rate. He is somebody that you absolutely have to pay attention to. And when it comes to the U.S. men's national team, until Tanner Tessman is actually on the field and applying his trade, and of course when Tyler Adams, those probably should be the first two in that position, first two for that. But it is what it is. Speaking of Tanner Tessman, the midfielder for Venezia has yet to feature this year because he was looking for his way out of town. He does not want to be in a situation where he's on a yo-yo team going up and coming down. I understand. I would like to see him stay in Venezia, but it is what it is. He's already in Lyon taking his physicals. He's already agreed to the personal terms with OL, and now it's just an issue of Venezia and Lyon figuring out the numbers. But before this window shuts, Tanner Tessman will be playing in Lyon, and this is absolutely fantastic. I know a lot of people think that he might profile a little bit better as a center back. Could be, but I would like to think that for Lyon, he's going to continue to stay as a deep mid, and I like that he's applying his trade now in France. I think this is a great move for him. Not this window, not this international window, but the next one that would probably be Poach's his first official window, where he's going to make call-ups. I can definitely see it by then because he's going to want to get a look. He's going to want to get a look at everyone. So I can definitely see him 2024, 2025 getting called in. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big believer. I thought he played excellent in Paris this summer. There were moments where especially against France and against Morocco, where he was caught out of position a little bit, but overall I thought he had a nice tournament, and I definitely think that he should be definitely involved with the senior team. Moving to the other midfield position. This is where I have Winston McKennie. And let me make myself clear. I like Winston McKennie. This has nothing to do with whether or not I like him. I don't give a shit about the whole hookah thing. When healthy and when he's fit and when he's playing, he's probably one of the better U.S. men's national team midfielders. Simple. But he's not playing right now. Now, this whole drama with Juventus over the summer was exhausting. Is he going to go to Aston Villa? No. Is he going to go to Turkey? No. He's like, I'm staying here. No, you're not. No, seriously, I'm staying here. And eventually, Juventus had to concede. And from what I'm hearing now, that he's slowly being ingrained into training. And I would probably assume by the end of September, Winston McKennie is probably going to be, if not getting minutes off the bench, making his way back into the starting 11. And I think at that point, once he's starting, it's going to be hard to leave him off the men's national team. But for right now, for these upcoming friendlies starting on September 7th, you have to set the tone, right? You cannot bring in players who are not playing. When you have other guys who are not only playing but playing well and also contributing goals, assists, whatever the case may be. Those are the guys that you want to see. Now that doesn't mean that the next window you can bring McKennie in, because I would probably assume by that point in time he will be. But for the short term, no. But, that's the thing. It's like, Winston McKinney, there's no doubt Winston is easily one of our best midfielders and will be involved in our camps, not only towards the back end of 2024, but also the 2025 camps. And I would probably assume that Mauricio Pochettino is going to want to have his first team available for the Gold Cup. It's the opportunity to have as much training time with your first team and getting comfortable with them. So that's going to be interesting 2025, but there's no doubt Winston McKinney is. The other guy I have right here is Yunus Musa, AC Milan. This last weekend he played and he got off to a really, really, really bad start. Errant passes, just did not have a touch or a feel. But that being said, he was also playing the 6. He was playing more in a defensive shell. He did make runs, and I thought by like 35th to 40th minute that he started kind of getting into the rhythm of the game. And then, of course, there was times where he almost seemed turned off in the second half. But, that's going to be interesting as well, too, because I was listening to the announcer saying that right now they have him bouncing around, whether it be the 10 or the 6 or even playing him back at right back. They're trying to find a role for Yunus Musa. And that seems a little hinky to me, because one of the things that you need is Yunus Musa playing. I would like to think that it's going to get figured out in Milan, and it could be a situation where that's what he does until January. He'll play where he's needed, whether it be at the 10, in a box to box or in a holding. They'll figure it out. But I'm also going to say that come January, if it became a situation where he's barely getting minutes for the first team and he's only featuring in the Italian Cup format type of situation, it might be wise for Yunus Musa to go find a starting spot elsewhere, because there will be teams that value him as a 10. And I think that for the men's national team, the more that we have those players playing as a high, free roaming, sharp shooting 10, the better. Because it's all it's going to do is make other people better. So I would like to think that this upcoming camp he will be involved, because he is playing. And in certain contexts, he's playing well. Now, he's not starting, but he's playing. So I guess that's like the baseline. Whereas Winston McKinney is not playing, so it doesn't matter. He's out. But Musa's playing. You figure out a way to bring him into camp, and you let him train. The other name I have on this one is Gianluca Busio. He is also playing for Venezia. He has yet to feature, but because he's recovering from that, from that injury sustained in the Olympics, but it's not going to be a long-term deal. I would probably assume as we get to September, by the second week, he probably should be in that starting lineup for Venezia, which would put him in line, I believe, for October. And that's going to be another name that you should look forward to, because he does a lot of things well, man. And he is also the type of guy who could play up at the 10. But he's also a very, his linking passing was very good, was very high level in the Olympics. And that was a guy that we absolutely needed against Monaco, that it was unfortunate he couldn't play. But he's a guy who, for the immediate, not so much because he's not going to be available, but when he is available, he should be involved in camps 100%. Moving to the 10, of course, Gio Reyna. And this is going to be interesting, because I caught myself thinking about players who will excel under Mauricio Pochettino, and everybody starts talking about Gio Reyna. And I was clearly thinking to myself, maybe. There's another guy on my list who plays for Leeds that I think will. definitely benefit from him. But, it all depends on how he takes to Mauricio Pochettino, because I have heard that Gio Reyna is a spoiled brat. And because of his dad's involvement with Dortmund, it didn't make anything better when it came to his relationship with the team. But he's back in camp. He's heavily involved in camp. And I would probably assume that by mid-September, he's probably going to be playing in cup matches. And I would probably assume by the end of September, again, it's a situation where he's going to be coming off the bench and getting minutes, or he's going to be starting in some context for Dortmund. And at that point, once he's starting or once he's playing, you can bring him into camp. But right now, you cannot bring him. By the way, and one of the things that I forgot to mention here is that the way that Mauricio Pochettino uses his 10 up the field, free roaming, like last year when he moved Cole Palmer to the 10 last year, and it unlocked that offense for Chelsea. It wasn't a coincidence that all of a sudden they had a great finish to their season. Right. And that's like, if you remember back in his Tottenham days with Dele Alli, nobody knew who Ali was before Pochettino got there. And coincidentally, he hasn't really been shit since he's left. Of course, he's been injured. But the reality was that, there's certain attributes that he needs for a 10. And it's going to be interesting. Now, I like Gio, and I think Gio is a phenomenal player. And and depending on how he gets along with Pochettino depends on whether or not he's going to be able to have that continuity with Mauricio Pochettino, where he's going to accept it and then apply it. But that's how he likes to use his 10s, man. He likes to be able to have that ball controlling 10 that's able to just make unbelievable, basically unlock your striker up top, being able to find those direct passes into your inverted wingers that are in the box, being able to put crosses in. It could be, man. It could very well be, and he very well could be. But the next name on the list is somebody that I actually think is going to benefit, and that's Brendan Aronson. This last weekend for Leeds, he gets a goal, and he looked great, man. Brendan Aronson looks good. This dude is pacey, and he just has a natural feel for the 10. It's weird because he can also play as a false 9. But he's awesome. And this was somebody that, he came back to Leeds. He actually played in the Premier League for Leeds, didn't necessarily have that great of a season in the Premier League. Leeds comes back, re-ingratiates himself with the Leeds supporters, and he's been running that offense there, and he is looking good doing it. And the why I like him is because the synergy that he has with their number 9 and the ability to feed off each other, and his ability in traffic, to basically just to dish dimes. It's pretty fantastic. This goal that he scored this weekend was actually off a block. He literally created space on his left foot, goal. It was beautiful. This is the guy that I think is going to benefit the most. And I also think for this upcoming camp, he 100% should be in camp for this September friendly against Canada. 100%. The other guy is Malik Tillman. This weekend, he played this weekend with PSV, had himself a goal. And in that context, he looked pretty solid for PSV. I think he also had a cross in the box that almost missed Ricardo Pepi. Pepi, I think, thought it was offside. I don't know, it was weird. He jumped over it, but That also could have been something that could have turned into something special. But I like that Malik Tillman is playing. And I also think that for this upcoming camp, he should be in it. Training with this positional group because you're going to need on-the-ball playmakers. And Tillman, granted, plays in the Eredivisie, plays for PSV. There's going to be opportunities. And again, are you playing well? Great, you're in. The other one is Paxton Eriksson. He's playing for FC Utrecht, and he had I think he had a pretty great start to his season last week. I think he had a goal and assist this week. He did not feature on the score sheet, but Paxton played well, man. Playing out left in that attack for Utrecht. I think he played 80 minutes, and when you look at his work rate, and you also look at his success rate when it came to passes, it's extremely high. What I like about him is the fact that you can play him on the wing, you can play him as a false 9. If you want to play him direct, you could as well too, and you can also play him at the 10. I have him right here, but he can play pretty much anywhere. And because he's gotten off to such a good start for Utrecht, I also want to see him with his brother in camp. No doubt about it. Moving to the wing now, Christian Pulisic, obviously, and the way that Mauricio Pochettino likes to run his offense. He doesn't like to keep his wingers out wide. He likes to tuck them in inverted next to the 10, which is why I actually think I can see him staying on the right side in a Mauricio Pochettino offense. This week with AC Milan, did get the goal for Milan. And otherwise, I didn't necessarily think he was all that spectacular this weekend. But then again, that wasn't necessarily him. It was the low block by Parma that just did not give him a lot of space to shine. But, again, still was able to score. And, of course, Pulisic 100% will be in camp. Timothy Weah had himself a good week, man, playing for Juventus. And they're using him in two different manners. They're using him up top and then also sometimes as a wing back. But that being said, primarily he's going to be out wide on the right. And this last week with Juventus scored, had a nice looking goal. But, and I think what's going to end up happening is in a perfect world, I can actually see Tim Weah coming off the bench for a Mauricio Pochettino-led team. And it's nothing, it's nothing against him. It's just the way that he the way that he runs his attack. I just see Christian Pulisic getting the bulk of starts and minutes on the right side, which means it's not a bad guy to have coming off your bench either. Having a Timothy Weah on your bench, being able to come off and then bring that energy to your team is it's always positive. It's always a good thing to have. And 100%. Well, here's the thing. Timothy Weah, he played and scored this last week. That's weird because I thought he had the injury. Well, anyway. If he's playing, he's in camp. Timothy Booth is another name. Taylor Booth is another name that I have on this list because he can play both sides, man. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. I thought he could also play as a 10 as well, too, if you need him to. I think this kid is so special and has the ability. But right now, he's coming off the bench for Utrecht with his buddy, playing with his buddy Pax. And it's going to be interesting because last year, he was getting a lot of starts towards the end. This year, like this last week, he only came off the bench for a minute. And I think the week before it was only 10. So right now, he's not getting any playing time. He's not getting a lot of playing time in order for him to actually show his skill because he is quality. Taylor Booth is quality. But he's barely playing. But I guess if the litmus test is you have to be playing, you can be called into camp. But it's going to be interesting, right? That's the thing. It's like, do you use him on the right or do you use him on the left? I would keep him. Eventually I want him in camp because I do believe he deserves to be in camp for this upcoming camp. Probably not. The next one is Griffin Yao, plays for Westerlo. And he featured this weekend as well, too. Didn't necessarily play a lot. I think he only played like 20 minutes this weekend. Not necessarily enough time. But this is another guy, just like Taylor Booth, who I think is unbelievably talented. This dude can play both sides. And this dude is just all energy. What I like about him is his ability to put balls into the box. I think he does it at a very high rate. And I think he's very accurate with it as well, too. And again, right now he's in a situation where he's coming off the bench, getting minutes. I would also have him in camp as well, too, just because, like, as opposed to Taylor, he's getting a lot more minutes. And I think the plan is that he's eventually going to get up to the point where he's going to be reintroduced to that starting lineup in Westerlo. I just think he's too good. And I think at that point, once he's starting games and getting an eye for finding his fellow attackers and those balls going in the back of the net, eventually, yes, just like Taylor Booth, he's going to have a role with this U.S. men's national team. But for this upcoming camp, I would probably have him in, because you can always have that guy if you need him to play whatever position you need him to play. The other guy is Kevin Paredes. And again, I thought Paredes had a phenomenal Olympics. His ability to track back on defense, because, the way that the U.S. was playing with inverted backs left a lot of space on that right side. And the way that Kevin Paredes was tracking back and making sure that, that he was 100% accountable for it, that was impressive. But he plays on the left. But again, one of those type of guys where he plays both. He's also been already involved in the U.S. camp, and it's time to bring him back again on the left side. I would bring him in 100% for this upcoming camp, without a doubt. The last guy is Haji Wright, playing for Coventry. Played this weekend, and it wasn't necessarily his fault that he wasn't able to get on the score sheet. Bristol City literally just cut off they for whatever reason, Coventry could not penetrate that back line. And because of it, he just wasn't able to get go. The only time they even came was like in the 76th minute, where a lucky ball found the left foot of a guy named Palmer, and they were able to walk away with at least 1 point. But the week before, Haji Wright scored, and Haji Wright's so impressive. And it's going to be interesting, because I actually think he's going to get a move away from Coventry after the season, just like his buddy there in the championship. 100%. As a matter of fact, I actually have Haji Wright starting on the left wing for the U.S. men's national team this camp, and just the way that it's going to work, those wingers are actually not going to be out wide; they're going to be inverted, and a guy like Haji Wright is going to be able to find lanes and be able to take advantage of that space. It's going to be under Pochettino. Haji Wright is going to be a madman. All right, turning to the strikers now, and we are almost done with this. So go ahead and let me know who you think you would like to see in this upcoming camp. These are the guys who are going to be involved in the short term, and then also 2026. And we didn't include guys like Koleosho, because he is not a part of the U.S. men's national team yet. Hopefully he will be. But these are some of the guys who are going to be heavily involved with the first team. The first one is going to be Flo Balogun. And listen, man, I love Flo. And I think in 2026, Flo will be the starting striker, without a doubt. Right now, though, he is not in good form. And he really hasn't been since he moved to Monaco. When he was with Reims, that dude was a goal-scoring machine. I think he was on loan from Reims, from Arsenal, had himself a fantastic season, and then, of course, Monaco brought him over. Since then, he has yet to match that. He has yet to match that production. Now, is this an issue of Flo Balogun, or is this an issue of maybe he's not in the right system? Because he's not, he's one of those guys that needs direct passes. or service. He's not really that type of guy that's going to go up and get it. So now I would not bring him in. Actually, you know what? No, that's the thing. And again, it's no disrespect to Flo Balogun, because again, I think he's going to be the striker in 2026. I think he's going to be the starting striker. But for right now, he's just not in form. And yes, he's playing, so therefore he deserves to be in this upcoming camp, 100%. But right now, there's one guy who is on fire, who deserves to be the starting 9 right now, and that is Josh Sargent of Norwich. Again, scored again this last week. That makes 3 in 3 weeks. He has scored in every single game Norwich is featured in. And he's already doing the things that Mauricio Pochettino asks him to, wants in a 9. When you look back at what made Harry Kane so great with Tottenham, and it wasn't just, I just need you to put the ball in the back of the net. Harry Kane also developed into one of the best passing 9s in the world. He was asking him to do things that normally he wouldn't, and because of it, Harry Kane became a world-class striker. He's already doing that at Tottenham. Now, not Tottenham. He's already doing it at Norwich. Now, Josh Sargent is not Harry Kane, I understand. But what he is right now is on fire. He started the season on fire, and I have to remind you that he was hurt last year. And I think he only played in 26 games, and he still managed to score 15 goals. If he can add another 10 to that tally, and now you're at 25, and you're in that 25 to 30, 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to be playing in the Premier League with Norwich. Or 2, you're going to be playing in the Premier League for another team, because that type of goal production cannot be overlooked. And by the way, his name was already mentioned with Bournemouth. Now they went and bought the Brazilian from Sporting, Benilson, I think his name. But he was linked there, right? That should be a testament. That should be a big testament, and shows a lot of respect on what certain teams think of Josh Sargent. And right now, Josh Sargent is the starting 9. Now, again, 2026, Flo Balogun. Yeah, I think he's the starter. But that being said, what happens if Sargent continues to evolve? The great thing about Sargent is that he is not even close to being the same guy that he was when he was at Werder. This kid has slowly gotten better. And the funny thing is, a lot of people who look at Josh Sargent, they look at him as a 9, as a false 9, and it's dude, what he's doing in the championship, and the championship is not if you don't watch the championship, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about, because the top 10 to 15 teams used to play in the Premier League within the last 5 years, and because of that, for 3 years after that, they get those balloon payments of $45 million, which means a lot of those teams are very well balanced. And the reason why they have to be balanced is because they want to get back up to the Premier League. So you're going up against very good defenses in the championship. And Josh Sargent is putting the ball in the back of the net. And for this upcoming September camp, 100%, he's my starter. I would still bring in Ballo, but Ballo is maybe getting late minutes. The other guy that I got here is Ricardo Pepi, playing for PSV, and up to this point, he hadn't featured, but this last week and yesterday, he did feature. I think he played because he's playing behind Dion for PSV. So he's not going to see a lot of minutes. And that's also another problem for me, because here's the thing. It's in order to be involved, you have to be playing. And if you're really only playing Dutch Cup matches, maybe seeing the field for 10 minutes, you're not going to be able to get into a groove. You're not going to be able to apply your craft. And so maybe this might be an opportune time to get out of PSV and get to a team that's going to commit to you as their starter. But it was nice to see Ricardo Pepi get on the field and score a goal. The other one is PFOC, plays for Mainz. Did not feature this week, but, playing in the Bundesliga. I love that. And, he's going to be somebody to keep your eye on. Maybe not for 2024, but 2025. We have a Gold Cup. Might make sense. And the last one is Jordan Morris. And I know before you even say it, it's Jordan Morris. I get it. He's an MLS lifer. And this is the weird thing, because Jordan Morris is on fire right now for Seattle. He scored in 8 of his last 13, including 2 in League's Cup. And how does that translate? Because I think we've all seen this, where you get an MLS call-up and it doesn't translate necessarily to the international game. Sometimes it does, but oftentimes it doesn't. And so that's the question. Does Jordan Morris, who wanted to be in the Olympics, by the way, and he should have been in the Olympics because Duncan McGuire, I'm sorry, you should not have been there. I would have been okay if Jordan Morris was the overage, playing in a position that they need to score goals. But anyway, I digress. Here's the thing. I would only keep Jordan Morris involved with the national team for Gold Cup games. When it comes to the Nations League, depending on which international break we're on, maybe, but Copa America, World Cup, Nation Leagues, probably not. International friendlies, again, depending on the international window and whether or not certain guys from overseas are going to be available. And you kind of have to rely on your B squad. Yeah, Jordan Morris is going to be fine for me. But any meaningful games, I'm sorry, that cannot be. But I'm really happy to see Jordan Morris doing incredibly well. That's a dude who's dealt with a lot of injuries in his career. That's going to do it for us. But before I go, I'm going to have to. I would be remiss if I didn't do this, but I have to shout out my beloved Tottenham Hotspur. Yesterday at Hotspur Stadium, White Hart Lane, against just a beleaguered Everton team who I believe is going to get relegated. They put 4 on the board. Sonny, my beloved Sonny, got a brace yesterday. And whatever bad vibes they had versus Leicester, man, they exercised those demons big time yesterday, man. That was such a beautiful performance. As a matter of fact, Everton was never really able to get going. That's how you know. That's how you know. Anyway, congratulations to my beautiful Tottenham Hotspur. Thank you for picking up the 3 points in such a dynamic and just elegant way of doing it. Now all of a sudden you have to go to Newcastle next week. So, and if Newcastle is played anything like they played today against Bournemouth, we'll see. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in a couple days. Good night.